Yes, we are back. It is once again Friday night here on the Boys in the Bus. It's just after 9 o'clock, and as I always say, you know what that means. It must be time for that Friday feeling, although it could also be a Friday therapy session. Not the first time we've done this after a bad result, because I'd imagine everyone's still a wee bit scunnered. I imagine everybody needs that Friday feeling tonight, but don't worry. We are here. A triple threat of Tim's once again is on the screen this fine Friday evening to give you all your Celtic chat fix. We'll be looking ahead to the Livy game because, despite Wednesday night's shocking performance, we've still got games to get through, and we've got Livingston coming to town tomorrow. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing at this stage? If only there was a mechanism where we could cancel a game. I wonder if we could have done that now in hindsight. Oh, no, I say go for it. I think Celtic are the type of team that need to just get out of their system as quickly as possible. So we're looking ahead to that. And obviously, we'll open a couple of suppressed memories from Wednesday night. And obviously, we will talk about what happens and, get our say on it. But before we go any further, let's see who's on tonight. So joining us, Johnny, back again on another Friday night. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing fine, mate. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm just saying to you before we came on live there that I'm on my part-time week, so I'm off work to the 31st of August, so it was all good. I'm all kitted up, ready for in case I get a call from Brendan tomorrow, because we've got a few injuries. So I thought I'll get a strip on. I said I'll get myself ready. If he gives me a call, I'll jump straight in the car and get myself up there and maybe try and get back to my days as a poacher in between the goal posts there, and because he does not playing, I don't think, tomorrow, is he? So
I think he's on many.
Any week, even when he's on the park. So,
well, what was it? Terry called him on the post match. The mannequin says he don't want to see him in a Celtic shirt again. Well, there you go. The very next game, he's going to exist. But Johnny, can you play striker? Can you play left back? Can you play right back? Can you play wing? Can you play any of these positions? Because we do have a wee bit of a problem right now with a few positions on the park. So good thing you're all suited and booted and ready to go. And of course, it is Friday night. So, of course, we have to have him on. He is the wise man of the bus. He is Canada's favourite Tim, the beard of knowledge. Liam, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. I've been going over what's just happened in this week. I've been listening to a couple of podcasts. I've been diving into some conspiracy theories, some comic books. All the signs are just pointing right now that we're living in a mad hologram, and this can't be real, because what's getting away with right now and just the way fans are being treated. It is something out of a dystopian sci-fi thriller where your board has been taken over. I was thinking that Bob Villan, at Glastonbury, do you want your country back? I think Mike Nicholson was like, do you want your club back? You're not getting it. They're going to hang on as long as possible. So, big club and we ain't in it.
Indeed. It did turn a bit toxic on Wednesday night. The old classic chant came back from the early 90s. It just built up to a crescendo at one point, and obviously we all discuss that as the hot topic at the moment. So that's definitely on the agenda tonight. But of course, folks, before we go into all that stuff, what you can do. Good stuff. Help the channel out massively, and give us a wee bit more traction. Again, we're barreling down now on 600 subscribers. We were on like 550 something on Wednesday night before the game. And as usual, as they say, misery likes company. Obviously a bad result, lots of people come and watch. It seems to be the way with fan media. If you get a bad result, you seem to get better views. So thanks to everybody who did watch the post-match with Terry and David. They did a fantastic job as well. Cheers to David as well for stepping in and helping Terry out there. He's still trying to get used to all the technical side of it. But did massive numbers through the week, and we got a massive bump on the subscribers. We're very close to 600 now, so thank you very much, everybody that has done so. And if you discover us tonight and you're just new to the channel and you want to keep us in your life that wee bit longer, then by all means, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification, and you'll be reminded when the boys in the bus are on the road. Who's in our comment section tonight? Let's have a wee look. We've got Jim Dolan, we've got Ian McIntosh, Jim C., Ali, Graham Tyrrell, of course he's here. Probably get the klaxon ready as well. Edward McGuigan is in as well. The Slabbering Cabbage is here. I always love that name. Fantastic. James McCauley is in as well. Who else? John is in. And Bill Ricky Boy is in. 420 somewhere is here as well. Take your usual seats. A lot of familiar names there. And what else can you do? So you hit the like button, helps with traction. And of course, if you want to partake in a membership, we've got them now as well. then it's $1.99 a month. Again, we are not going to put anything behind Patreon. We're going to have member-only content. It's just more value. And we also again audio users if you like you're out walking the dog, out for a walk, you can exercise whatever you listen to your audio, then you can find us on SoundCloud as well, and that is in the description. So yeah, there you go. All that said, all good stuff.
Phil, can we just let you know? I think the StreamYard gremlins are affecting you a little bit at the moment.
Okay, that's fine. That's why there's 3 of us on, so that's good because
it just sounded a little bit like you were underwater there for a minute, like it was difficult to pick up what you were saying.
No, that's okay. I'd say I was made aware by our pal Steve-O over at Celtic World Order that last night StreamYard seemed to be playing up a little bit, and a couple other Celtic pods that were on earlier seemed to have similar issues. So it's a good thing there's 3 of us on tonight. So if I happen to drop out randomly, then it's over to you two to keep it going. Or if one of you guys drops out, then hopefully we can just keep it running nice and smoothly. So yeah, fingers crossed that StreamYard doesn't completely fall to pieces like Celtic did on Wednesday night with that performance. So let's get talking about Wednesday night. And Johnny, I'd say it was a surprising result, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. A lot of us went into it. I include myself in this, thinking we should be able to just get this done. You look at the ranking of this team, but again, most well-laid plans, they don't quite go that way. They were organised. All you got to be against this team at times, it feels it's organised, and that's it. They did have a little bit about them, I felt, coming forward. Kairat, they moved the ball around well. Couple of wee shot, the offside goal early on. They had a couple of chances. The one that they nearly chipped Kasper Schmeichel from nearly the halfway line. So there's a couple of wee moments there. But in the second half, we obviously got a bit of control of the game. But again, it just sort of diverted into that, what Liam likes to call the horseshoe. So as I say, on paper, it looks a surprising result. But I feel like we've read this chapter before, Johnny. And I hope the ending isn't the worst possible scenario come Tuesday. Because we're still in the tie. But it's still nothing each. It's half-time, essentially, in the tie. We're not out by any stretch of the imagination. But we've given ourselves quite the task to do it. But then again, Johnny, would you imagine Celtic to do it any other way?
Well, at the minute, certainly not. But just for actual clarity, I didn't actually see the game on when
you didn't miss much. You didn't miss much.
No, it certainly. I was listening to it driving back up from Heathrow on Wednesday night, and it sounded, particularly in the first half, absolutely turgid. And I've been kind of calling this team, I can never remember how you pronounce their name, but I've just made it easier for myself. I've just been calling them Christ Almighty because I've been having the feeling that we've been going to have a Christ Almighty situation regarding this tie. I actually wasn't confident about Wednesday night, and I don't want to sound like I'm foreseeing the future or I know better than anybody else, but I've been very, very concerned about this game for pretty much since we knew we were playing them. I'd much rather have had who was it? It was Slovenia.
It was Slovan Bratislava they played in the last round. Yeah,
I would much rather have had them, and not just because we gave them a doing last year, and also it would save them the travel backwards and forwards. But because let me tell you, I know you can say, oh well, they're going to be flying first class and that. Hopefully, Celtic aren't going to skinflint on that. But it's even flying first class and having bunks and whatnot can still take it out of you when you're traveling those kind of distances. And you might be all right going out the way, but then you've got to come back again and play Rangers. So that's got me a bit worried. But when we played teams from Kazakhstan before, we've generally done the business at home and then nearly fell over on the away leg.
Yeah.
So the fact that we didn't do the business on Wednesday night and didn't even get our noses in front, I've got serious doubts about Wednesday night. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a long 90 minutes or a long 120 minutes and penalty kicks.
Yeah, that's a thing that crossed my mind. I just thought again, saying, would you imagine Celtic doing it away? Would you be surprised if it went the full 120 and then went down to a penalty shootout and we've got a game at Ibrox a few days later? Would you be shocked at that if that happened? 40-degree heat or whatever it is that we're playing in, it's like, only we would do it this way. But hey, so we might still win it at the end of the day, but Jesus Christ, they'll put us through the ringer by the looks of it. But Liam, what's your sort of? I imagine your take is not a very positive one on that. There isn't many positives to draw from Wednesday night. But again, were you shocked, surprised at how bad it was, or was it one where you were just like that? Saw this coming, you could have predicted this, because you're the one that always does clear about the horseshoe passing. And again, if we come up against a team that is just organised like that, if we start diverting to that, then we run out of ideas quite quickly, and it just feels like in the final third right now, ideas are definitely bereft. Liam?
I think this is what ends up happening with a Rodgers team in its third year. They get so much to this. Rodgers always talks about controlling the game. Control the game. I need to control the game. I think that's bullshit. I want my players out there trying to win a game. And what you don't see when we are controlling the game is people trying to go out and win. People doing that one spark of magic. That one, run, dribble, whatever it is, tackle that's needed to just sort of break the deadlock, break the threshold, and get the ball in the goal line so that we can start getting scoring opportunities. The thing that was absolutely startling was the fact that we had no goal-scoring opportunities. We weren't up against a hot keeper. We weren't up against a team that was like all-out defending at all costs. They just had to park in the 18-yard line and push up on James Forrest and Maeda, or whoever the other winger was. The only time when we had any luck is when we moved Maeda to the middle, because all of a sudden we were dragging him about and there was movement. Ida was not making a move at all, and then when we put Yamada on, he was as well, but he just wasn't effective at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear me okay?
You're absolutely, yep, you're absolutely fine, mate.
So I'm surprised that Rodgers, because if you do look at what he's got available to him and playing against a 400th ranked team, take all the boardroom stuff out the way, they're not getting a free pass at all. But if you look at what he had at his disposal, tactics, playing at home, he really, really underperformed as a manager again. When's the last time he's won a big game that we've had to win?
Had to win. Probably, because the league was pretty much sewn up by the halfway point. So probably the
semi-final.
It's going to be one of the Champions League games against like Young Boys, because that got us through, or the League Cup final against Rangers in December, which to say that was December and January, because I say after the game at Ibrox, where we get tanked 3-0, we were still 14 points in front at that stage. So you're looking at probably January for the Young Boys game. In fact, there's Patrick McLaughlin saying that. So that was the last one. And then after that, the Villa game, we were already through, so it was a free hit. And then Bayern Munich, I say needs to win that one. That one was like, we just go in and we give it our best shot because it's Bayern Munich. And we did give it our best shot. And that's the most frustrating bit about it, Johnny, is you could see the progress in February when we lost to Bayern. There was no shame in how we lost that game over the two legs, because it was 3-2 in the end on aggregate. 30 seconds away from taking it in extra time in the Allianz Arena against absolutely one of Europe's top teams, one of the world's top teams, no doubt about it. And then you're like, surely the hierarchy of the club look at that and see how close we are, and they know now we're on the right track here with the right investment. We can start taking some scalps this season in the Champions League. But here we are, Johnny, in a position where we don't even know if we can be in the Champions League right now. And that's the most frustrating bit for me, is just a few months ago, you're looking at, okay, we gave Bayern Munich a scare there. What can we do with the right investment in the summer? And it's just wild that we've allowed it to get to this stage again. But much like the result on Wednesday night, not surprised, because we've read this chapter before as well.
Yeah, like I said, in answer to Liam's question, there was a problem. It possibly was against the Young Boys, but although we still had the league to clinch and we still had a Scottish Cup to go for, our season pretty much finished in February. As far as performances go, we were rotten from February until the end of the season. It was back to the sort of the first, was it in Brendan's after he come back, our football was pretty turgid for a lot of the season when we won the league, when when it looked like Rangers might sneak in there until they bottled it against Motherwell and Dundee. I mean, from that game against Bayern Munich, where they played well, and like you said, we could have, should have, whatever. But we played well against Bayern, but almost from that point on, the season fizzled out. I can only think of one decent performance after that, and that was the clincher against Kilmarnock when Ida had his best game for us, when he played like a centre forward who was going to bully other defences and whatnot. But I've actually lost the thread of what we were talking there. But
no, it's you're on the right track, because McLaughlin, P, Bags, Alba, saying we've had 8 big games in 2025 and won one of them. So it's just like along the lines of the big performances. And yeah, you're right. After the Bayern Munich game, it was very much stop-start after that, because again, we were so far in front. How many times, Johnny, did Brendan Rodgers have to come out after a quite mediocre performance in the second half of last season and just say, the players, they're maybe a bit too comfortable? And again, I've drawn this comparison before. You look at Brendan's first spell in charge, the invincible treble season. Celtic finished 30 points in front of Aberdeen, who were second that season, and 39 points in front of Rangers. And the league was pretty much, again, we were home and dry by January. I think when we beat Rangers at Ibrox in January 2017, that put us about 16 points in front. And, that you're not going to throw it away at that stage. And the players didn't stop. The players just kept going. They just, they were relentless. But this set of players, just the mindset, Brendan's coming out and saying things like, oh yeah, they're getting too comfortable, and these mistakes are creeping in, and it's like, it's obviously a mentality thing. So yeah, it is frustrating. And as Patrick McLaughlin says there, you look at the record of big games so far the Celtic have had in 2025, and actually I only won one of them.
It's quite startling when you look at that, isn't it?
That is it. So I would, and that'll probably be again the Young Boys game, which was in January because of the new Champions League format. But yeah, Liam, it is Adamida is obviously getting a lot of flag. He got the most of the flack. Obviously, he's on the post-match show on Wednesday. Terry was quite scathing, called him the mannequin, and said he never wants to see him play in a Celtic shirt again. But him and David, I watched the show in full, and they made a good point that, Terry said, I don't want to make him totally the scapegoat, but the manager, by subbing him off at half-time, and there was obviously a clip as well, I believe, shortly before half-time, where I think the players were having a water break, and Brendan Rodgers was kind of getting ladled into him. But apparently now he has got an injury, so maybe he had a knock and he had to come off. We'll see. But yeah, it's not even just Adamida. I think a lot of people are now pointing at the fact that look at the forward options right now compared to, again, Brendan's first time. At one point in time, he had Dembele, Edouard and Griffiths as his 3 centre-forward options. And nowadays, it's misfiring Adamida, really unproven Johnny Kenny, and Yamada, who I don't think the manager's that keen on, much like Inamura. So, yeah, that's what we're up against. And, of course, one of the comments that I've highlighted, James Kennedy highlighted, just what I'm saying, who's scoring the goals on Tuesday? And that is the big issue here, because the worrying part, Liam, is all the games we've played so far, Maeda is the only forward player who's scored a goal. We've had Hatate, McCown, Negrin, Dane Murray, defender, Alistair Johnson, a defender, and an own goal by Falkirk. So far, they've all been our goals, one for Maeda against Falkirk. So that's the thing when it comes to Tuesday, because now we need to score. I said earlier on, we don't want to be going 120 minutes, go right through extra time, another 0-0 draw, and you're playing a penalty shootout out there. We need to get some goals, and where do they come from right now?
I think we have to look to where they came from before. Start by moving Maeda into the middle. He's our best striker. He's our best finisher. And I know people are saying, but he's missed a couple of there. He's coming in. He's not had an entire pre-season to play at centre forward like Ida has. I mean, that's what's frustrating about this whole thing about, Dyson Maeda. He's such an important player to this club. You have no idea. I think he really helped our season last year. I think a lot of games are in Europe is because he came onto a really good spell. He converted from the wing position to the centre forward. And I think Angela's the only one that played him in the wing. He's been a centre forward his entire life. We know he plays that way for Japan. We know that if we put him in there, we get results. And this is where, again, I just want to concentrate on Rodgers and the team right now, because I'm sure we'll talk about the board and signings and all that. But looking with what you have, you're going to have to start being more creative, Brendan. At that point, you can't do like a Craig Levein and don't play a striker because you don't have a recognised striker or whatever it is. You have to say, okay, take some of these players that have utility and start moulding them into wingers, start moulding them into midfielders or play centre forwards until you can figure out what you have to do. Remember, Gareth Bale started off as a left back. You know, and there's lots of players, Chris Sutton, lots of these players. A good manager is a guy that gets to get his best players on the park. If you can't get it right now, which you're obviously not, stop putting the same square pegs into fucking round holes and get the finger out and start being creative and see if you can make the best out of this team. Now, we've got Rio Hatate that plays right back. He's only ever played there once, but when he did, 2 goals, man of the match. Now you're thinking,
I remember it.
All right, Alistair Johnston's going to be out for like up to maybe November. All right, you know, Tony Ralston, yeah, good deputy. But are we better? Are we more dynamic playing with a Rio Hatate at right back or a Tony Ralston? And if that's the case, okay, can you do anything to get us out of this horseshoe and this formation that he has that just grinds football to a halt? And every other manager has seemed to have figured out, especially the rotating door at Rangers. They just pass the note to the net guy. By the way, here's your brogues, here's your paintings, here's your check, cheerio, you know. And then, oh, by the way, here's a wee note. That's how you beat the horseshoe, you know. Because everybody seemed to be able to beat it, even we Barry Brogues. Yeah. So, I'm really frustrated with Brendan Rodgers right now. That formation is tired, it's predictable, and it's easy to shut down. If the 400th place team in the world can come and shut you down, tell me, what point, where is the elitism that we're seeing in this elite management? And the only way people are referring to him as elite management seems to be because, again, we have this Scottish mentality, Celtic mentality that we can't get anybody better, though. How do you know? We went to Australia where the guy showed up and nobody wanted. And you know what? Disagree with a lot of other podcasts. He was better. I enjoyed the football better. We got better players. And we had a manager as well that came in that had an insight into what sort of players he wanted in his transfer. Whereas, again, we've got an elite management that's passing it off to everybody else, but then no playing the players he gets. I mean, yeah, I think this is just a really toxic relationship between Brendan and the board. It's one of the Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck type things where it doesn't matter how good it looks on paper or what it is before, or how much you smile in front of the cameras. You can just tell by it's no working, and when it's no fun to watch. It really isn't. It's watching a really shit couple of your pals that fight all the time, and that's what it's like. I think the two of them are bad for each other. We just need them all gone.
See, again with the cynical mind.
I know.
No. What I was going to say was just the cynical thought. After Wednesday night and heading back to the game, I said to my dad that because obviously the tours were at it, and yeah, it was obviously the tours were scunnered. I think it's the best word to use. It was scunnered. And just what's going on and the way that the board have, dragged their heels, and we keep hearing these stories about, they're haggling over this for a player, and they're monitoring a player, they're observing a player, they're keeping tabs on a player rather than bidding on a player. I just had that feeling. I says, if this goes completely Pete Tong here, and they say we're hanging on here, it could go either way on Tuesday night. But I get a funny feeling that for these players that we're hearing stories about, like Jacob Broom or Brehm, or however it's pronounced, you want 6 million for them, suddenly we'll be like, okay, there's the 6 million that you wanted. I've just got that funny feeling. Call me cynical, but I just have a feeling that out of nowhere over the next week, all these players that we've been, pursuing and been linked with and having bids rejected because we're trying to put in a lower offer to try and maximise our profits when we sell them on. I've got a funny feeling that with the way the tide turned massively on Wednesday night, it hadn't really turned, it was always there, but it just became more vocal on Wednesday night. Got a funny feeling that those on the board suddenly will be like, oh, we've got to do something here to get the heat off us. And it's like, yeah, but it could, and it's not at the moment, but it could be too late, and hopefully that isn't the case. Hopefully on Tuesday night they go out there and they find a way by hook or by crook. Maybe with the dynamic being that we're the away team now, maybe it'll benefit us. Maybe Kairat will need to be a bit more open because, yeah, I mean, let's be honest, they were very streetwise. But again, it's not something we haven't seen before. We've seen this for years. We domestic teams coming to Celtic Park, a lot of European teams, a lot of cynical play, going down, buying free kicks, referee awards them everything, a lot of time wasting. And again, we've said it before about Celtic. They need to be more streetwise to this. So maybe with it being on their park, maybe it'll be a bit more open, and maybe we can capitalise on it. But again, we will find out on Tuesday. And the thing is, as well, speaking of the transfer rumours and whatnot that are doing the rounds, and what I was just saying there, Johnny, about maybe now we'll find that money from behind the couch that we've been holding out and not bidding. So do you want to hear the latest story, Johnny, on Michel Ange Balakisha, the ballad of him? Because that just will not go away, and we're about to head into the last week of the transfer window. And I think on a show that we did, the three of us, I'm pretty sure we were on together, and I predicted that this will go down to the last week. And I don't want to be right on this, but we're now staring down the barrel of the last week of the transfer window. And yeah, Michel Ange Balakisha, despite all the talk of the deal's not going to happen, he's away at a team in France. Nope. It seems like he's still with Royal Antwerp, and it seems that Celtic have agreed some kind of deal in principle. And Johnny, I was surprised to hear that the price that I was doing the rounds that we've agreed is 4.5 million. And I'm like, are you kidding me? We've been haggling over that the entire time, 4.5 million. So yeah, that, I mean, the most I think the most I heard it go up to was about 5 million they wanted. And again, it's like, is that really what we were haggling over here? But hey, it might still be another turn than this, and he might not end up a Celtic player, but this name just won't go away. But yeah, that's the latest on that one. But how do you feel then? Do you think, I'm thinking, Johnny, that guys like Balakisha, these ones that we've been chasing and been stalling over, suddenly the board will have a light bulb moment in the next week and just go, right, whatever they want, just give them it? And could that also be a panic buy as well? Because we've got our concerns about people like Balakisha with injury record and whatnot.
I think there's a very good chance it will happen, because let's face it, it happened last year. We sort of, don't get me wrong, we all wanted Ida to sign, because of the impact he had in the first 6 months, despite might be some concerns. But it really came to a head when was it Diogo's shoulder when he went down and. Can't remember who we were playing.
Who was that again? Because Kyogo's had a shoulder problem for a few years. It's been something.
Yeah,
but there was
a particular game last year when it was against Hibs at Easter Road.
Yeah, because we played Hibs in the second game of the season. That would have been it.
Yeah, and Kyogo went down heavily on his shoulder and got replaced. And there was all of a sudden, Ida was in the door, and we paid 9 million quid for him. According to paper reports, 9 million quid, when we've been trying to pay a lot less than that. But all of a sudden, Brendan had bared his teeth or whatever and said, look, I need a striker, I need a backup here. Kyogo could end up having to have an operation on his shoulder. So we done it last season. And are they going to make the same mistake if it is a mistake with Ida? Which is certainly what it's looking like at the moment, where was there a panic element in that? Kyogo, if he gets injured, we're going to have some bother. So we need to get Ida in, and we got him in. Could do the same again with this Balakisha, who, I'll be honest with you, I haven't even looked at a YouTube video of him. I couldn't tell you whether he's any good or not. But you've got to think, if we've been chasing him for that long, somebody at Celtic likes him, and I say somebody because we don't know whether it's Brendan or whether it's the man with the hat or the board or whatever. But it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest that if we qualify for the Champions League, we'll probably do it. But if we don't qualify for the Champions League, what I'm more worried about is we just keep going as we are, and I don't think that's an option, to be honest with you. Just going as we are. No. Definitely not an option, because my theory of it is you should go and get the best players you can and get them signed up, get them prepped in to qualify for the Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
And if we'd done that and we didn't qualify for the Champions League for whatever reason, at least we'd be able to say they spent the money, they made the effort, they bought the players, but we'll have a better team for the Europa League and make a proper go at that instead of damp scribbing that as well. So, but I think you're right. I think you'll be proved right what you said about 3-4 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was.
I'm still not buying new top.
No, don't worry about that. No, I wasn't doing it for any of that. I was just thinking.
We're not having a David and Regan
just with the PTSD that Celtic put us through, and I'm like, this one's going to drag on into like Eder and Bernardo last season. He's going to be that, and despite all the stories about him going off to France and whatnot, no, here he is. He's still a Royal Antwerp player. And I think I put a comment up there from Rebel 86. Say apparently we've flown a delegation out there to convince the player to sign.
Phil, to convince his entourage. The worst
his entourage.
If that's not a red flag, I don't know what that is. I mean, that's massive ball and golly vibes right there.
Yeah. I said that to Pam and Connor when we were on like last week. There was obviously a story that the player himself has been. The stories went around that he's hanging out for Celtic to get Champions League football. And it's like, mate, you play for Royal Antwerp, like. Who are you to demand Champions League football? It's like, come on, man. So, yeah, it's just a hell of a transfer fiasco, I think would be the best way to put it. But Liam, let's address the worst case scenario. This will make you feel better. It certainly won't actually. So I got put it. I think I sent you the other day, but the obviously if, and of course it is still a big if Celtic obviously don't pull it off on Tuesday and end up in the Europa League. Johnny said there, have we even got a squad equipped for the Europa League? Because, hey, there's a lot of good teams in that as well. Teams like Roma and Porto are in there. Feyenoord, who we've crossed in recent seasons. They're still there. Hey, we might even end up signing one of their players going by the stories. Teams like Olympic Lyon, there is some big names in there. But I was quite interested because there's a website, it's a really, really good one that gives you like the projected seedings as it stands right now and it updates after every round. And I had a wee look, and if Kairat were to drop into the Europa League, they would be the worst ranked team out of all the Europa League teams. And then I thought, I'm just going to go a wee bit further here and have a look at the current projected Conference League teams as well, because obviously they can't drop down to the Conference League. But if they were in the Conference League, they'd also be the worst ranked team in the Conference League as well, because they've got the lowest coefficient points out of everybody who's competing in the three competitions right now. So it's like they've got like 5.5 or something like that coefficient points, and the lowest team projected in the Conference League right now at the 36 teams has like 7.2 or something like that. I'm like, Kairat are literally the lowest. So there you go. That's what we drew with the other night. But it does it if Celtic were to drop into the Europa League, right? Now, I know a lot of fans out there are saying, but we could go on a good run there and all that. And again, I'm saying, well, can we? I mean, we're going to need to equip ourselves for that one as well. Now, me personally, I just like European nights, right? I don't look down my nose at the Europa League, right? I know there's a lot of fans that do, and especially English Premier League fans, like they are the worst for it. I mean, you look at some of the Tottenham fans, the way they reacted after winning the thing, and then Ange got sacked and whatnot, and there's still a lot of fans that still are like, who cares that he won as a Europa League? And I get that the Premier League is so big with the money and finishing 17th. It's obviously still bad, but it's like, you wanted to win a trophy, and it's still a trophy. It's a European trophy as well, but, it just shows you how dismissive they are. But for us, say we're from the Scottish Premiership, right? I don't think we have a divine right to look down on those at a competition like the Europa League. But yeah, say I look at some of the teams in that, and I'm like, if we do drop into that, like, I want us to have a go at it. But I don't know if we can be capable of going quite deep. We need to just actually navigate a knockout round first and foremost, Liam, if we were in it. But even at that, the board still have to make some serious investment, because we don't want to go into that tournament and end up finishing bottom in that one and no qualifying. We want to, if we're in the Europa, if we do drop down there, we want to make sure that we're in the knockout stage at the very least. So even at that, it still isn't any excuse for them if it does go Pete Tong for them to be like, oh, well, we didn't make the Champions League. It's like, no, we should still be looking to improve, because that competition will be a very difficult one if we end up in it as well. But of course, ultimately, we want to be in the Champions League. That's where the money is. That's where the prestige is. And that's where you get better by playing better teams. But I say there is still a lot a lot of worrying teams in that as well that could give us a bit of a cricket score at times, Liam.
Well, even if we get into this competition, doesn't it look like we're going to do very well in it anyway, just by the the amount of resources we've put to that. I mean, I like the UEFA League. I like just seeing us playing big teams. I like seeing us playing teams with a history. I don't care, I would much rather see us play a team like Roma, and just all the build-up and everything that goes around it when it's two big teams playing. This team...
cut you off, mate, but how good was it when we beat Lazio home and away if you go in the Europa League? How good was they 2 nights?
That was the one I was just going to reference because that seemed like a big game night, and that's what you want as Celtic players. You want big games, but the fact that we're even talking about this right now is this part of our with the board's process: rinse, repeat, condition. Now it's like I feel like we're trying to be conditioned. Well, you hear it so many times. Well, that's their level. That's their level. Wait a minute, we've won a European Cup. That's their level. We've won it, and not many teams have. So, and I know it's years ago and that as well, but we are a big team on a Champions League night. We're a big team in the sponsors' eyes. We're a big team. We're a big team that deserve to play on big nights. We've got the floodlights. Come on, it wasn't for disco dancing at the sleepover, right? It were for big nights. That's what they told us. Big floodlights, big nights. Yeah, and we'll get them in the Europa League and that. But going into the Champions League, come on, that's where the money is. That's where the prestige is. And it's like to take that for granted and not do your best to go on and try that, because we're not guaranteed. If we can't beat this 400th place mob for Kazakhstan, what hell are we going to get drawn against an English team or any of the Italians or fucking anybody at this point, another Cluj or a Danish. But we're just adding more to the list. Israeli teams, Irish teams, you name it. We're now worried about an away fixture in Kazakhstan. We're worried about that because we've got a flight. They had the same flight over to come to us. It didn't come through a time hole, right? So they flew the same way. And I'm sure, I don't know what the airlines are like in, Kazakhstan, but I imagine it's something comparable. I mean, Johnny, maybe you could tell us, right? I mean, it's got to be, first class, I think, is a lot different than what Lisbon Lions were flying over into Lisbon and, probably sitting on their bags and their, their cases and that. So this whole thing that players are going to struggle over there in the heat, these are players that fly around the world. Alistair Johnson and CCV were flying all, doing for the CONCACAF games in Mexico and Central America and stuff regularly. So we've had that a lot, and then we've had teams fly out to Australia and to Japan and South Korea and all that in the last years as well, and then play games after that. So I don't want to hear any of that stuff as an excuse as well. I think
Liam, sorry, I was going to say, I think Terry said this on Wednesday night, and this is a great point about last week. They flew to Slovakia, flew back to Kazakhstan, played a league game, then flew to Glasgow, played us, got a 0-0 draw and flew back home. And it's like, well, they've done that in the space of about 10 days. And so I think I agree with you. I don't think we should be, using it as an excuse to be worried. But they've had to do the same thing. And because they've had to play more rounds than us, they've had to do an even longer trip. And, I say literally the week before, they were flying to Slovakia, then back home, played a league game, and then flew to Glasgow and managed to dig their heels in and get a 0-0 draw. So you're right. Totally right, mate.
Well, I mean, at least the board will be rubbing their hands at the air miles,
Get those guys in.
Oh, air miles. Yeah, I don't want to see us dropped into the UEFA League. I don't have faith in Rodgers and getting a team together that can even compete in that. It just looks to me right now that we've lost that competitive edge. There's some things you can't get back, certain sparks, a certain momentum that once you give it up, you kind of get it back. And last year, I think he was really negligent. And as Johnny said, geeing up the league or, wrapping everything up by February. Your role as an elite manager is to keep those players motivated so that we're getting the best, because, nobody stopped. You didn't get a refund on your season's ticket in February. You didn't get any discounts on anything. So why should you be discounted with a product on the park that perhaps they're not giving it their all or not sufficiently motivated by the manager. That needs addressed because he's not been able to get it back going. He didn't get it going for the cup final. I don't think we had a particularly great pre-season. Did what we had to do in games we needed to play. That was it. And then when it came to big games again, we find him wanting, you know.
James McCauley says, Phil, have you seen the apparent salaries of board members? I've seen them. Yeah, they've been doing the rounds on Twitter. Either I do believe that Celtic have to put it out in the financial reports every year, so it is public knowledge out there. But yeah, I did see the numbers that were doing the rounds, and somebody even pointed out, I think when Lawwell was the CEO a few years ago, like Nicholson's salary is way higher than that, and obviously now Lawwell's the chairman, the non-executive chairman, as he came in as, and then subtly changed to just the chairman. So, they are out there, but I say it's just mad that they can sit there. I mean, you saw the clips of them on the TV, how they're all sitting watching it, and it's like their faces all tripping them, and it's like, well, you caused this, like you guys caused this. It's like you can't be surprised, boys.
But do you think they were surprised? I mean, what's your reaction? Do you think that they sat down and it was like, hey, wait a minute, I thought they loved us? Or is it...
No, I mean, but it was on the park. I think they know. I think they know.
I think it was that Mitchell and Webb thing where they just look at each other and go, are we the baddies? Aye, you're the baddies.
I think they know about the resentment from the fans. I think they're quite acutely aware of it. Acutely aware. Not even acutely, they were very much aware on Wednesday night because I say it built up to quite a crescendo. But I think when they were looking at what was on the park, if they were surprised by that, I mean, again, was it this naivety, or we were a seeded team, or it's a team for Kazakhstan, or they're ranked 400th, whatever it is in UEFA's rankings? As I say, if they were a Conference League team, they would be currently ranked 36 out of 36 in that. Have they just, again, it's like, well, this is what happens. You just need to be prepared, just erase all doubt, just go out and get the players, and then you go into that game on Wednesday night and you just roll over them, and we go out to the second leg next week and we're in a comfortable position. But now we've put ourselves in a quite difficult one, and say Celtic is, this at the end of the day, Kairat are not an amazing side, but they've got here for a reason. This is the biggest game of their history, probably. They've never been in the Champions League. This might be the only chance that they will get. So they are going to be dangerous. They haven't conceded a goal in any of their home qualifiers yet as well. We're not scoring many goals. Oh, man. It's all mounting up right now. Yes, Johnny. I can see the smile on your face.
I'm telling you something for your...
Celtic win 5-0. Celtic 5-0 on Tuesday night. There you go.
I said earlier on that, that come on this team, Christ Almighty, because I could never remember exactly what the name was. And I'm worried that we're going to go for a Christ Almighty sort of period here, but you're not, for those figures and stats you're reeling off there, you're not making me feel any more confident about next week. It's a good job I didn't come on here to get cheered up, I'll tell you, Phil.
I know. So we just need to get all our systems to say it's usually a therapy session on a Friday whenever we have a bad.
They may well go out there and score 5 and win 5-0, but
we'll wake up on Wednesday morning, Johnny, and go, what were we all worried about? It was nothing in the end. It was fine. So you never know. But see, we put ourselves in just a difficult position. We're not out. We're far from out at the moment. It's just in typical Celtic fashion, like I said at the top of the show. Would you expect us to do it any other way? No. This is what we do. We always need to make it a bit hard for ourselves, a bit of drama. That's what Celtic do. And yeah, over to Tuesday for that. But before that, the action doesn't stop. We opted not to cancel any games. Obviously another team did, and then decided actually it's a bad idea. Actually, we better get that game back on this weekend. That could backfire for them. But anyway, we've got our game to worry about. And after a drab 0-0 draw against a stodgy team in yellow and black through the week there, Johnny, we've got another stodgy team who are yellow and black, who in the past have got 0-0 draws at Celtic Park. It is David Martindale's Wall Puncher FC. It is Livingston, a big physical brute force team. They're not exactly technically gifted, but one thing they are is organised, Johnny. And I said earlier on, against this Celtic team right now, you just need to be organised, and that's it. We saw what St Mirren did on the first day of the season. They were organised, they were stodgy, they made it difficult for us, they didn't give up much at the back, and it took a deflected goal with minutes to go to win it. Livingston, David Martindale is going to look at that performance, he can lean on performances in the past, and you look at what Kairat did through the week, and it's. I said at the top of the show, Celtic are the type of team when they have a bad result, they need to get out of the system as quickly as possible. Is Livingston, though, the right team to be coming here tomorrow for us to get it out of our system? Because I say they tick a lot of the boxes of this is a nuisance team to play against. More so on their own pitch, let's be honest. It's more so at their ground. It's a bit more of a nuisance. But I say they have got 0-0 draws with us before at Celtic Park under Ange, when Ange was manager. So they are capable, they are difficult, and if we do fall into the horseshoe passing again, then it could be a long day. But how do you think? What's your feelings initially about this one?
I think actually, I don't think we could have picked a better game as a preparation, if you like, for what we've got to do on Tuesday night. You know, a team that's well organised, well drilled, and can make life difficult for us. Like you said, a bit more regularly at Livingston on the plastic pitch than at Celtic. But I mean, when you were talking about that before, you sort of alluded to it. The 0-0 when Giakoumakis missed the last minute penalty when they
terrible penalty.
Sorry.
A terrible penalty, I remember.
A terrible penalty. That was another game I was listening to rather than watching when I was driving back. But I think it could be the perfect warm-up game, practice game. Because it's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be stodgy and we'll sneak a 1-0 win like we did against St Mirren on the first day of the season, or we'll go out there and batter them as a dress rehearsal for what we need to do on it's Tuesday night we're playing, isn't it?
Tuesday night.
So I think we could have handpicked a better game to have to play before we go out to Kazakhstan on for Tuesday's game. So I think we'll win, but I'm not gonna sit here and say I think it'll be 5-0 or even a 3-0. It would surprise me if it's just a 1-0 scrappy draw and maybe an Engels penalty or something at the death. But like I said, yeah, I'm quite happy with playing Livingston because I think they're the blueprint for what we need to do on Tuesday night. But then again, they're the blueprint for what we should have done on Wednesday night. And we didn't, because I watched a bit of Brendan's. I watched Brendan's press conference this afternoon, and I was expecting Celtic to come out like a tornado on Wednesday night and try and blitz them, and it sounded like they came out in their suits for the first half, from what I could make out listening on the radio, and just didn't sound like a Celtic team. You've said it before, Liam, slow and pedestrian. And we're not a slow and pedestrian. Traditionally, we're not a slow pedestrian team. Even some of our teams from the 90s, we didn't win nothing for 6 years or whatever it was. But, we had some good players, and we played with a bit of passion and pace and trying to get at the throats of the opponents. And we just don't seem to do that nowadays. They're very dull to watch. In fact, there's quite a few times of late that if it wasn't Celtic playing, you switch the telly off and go and do something else. And the only reason you stay in front of that television screen is because it's the green and white hoops that you're watching. It's not because you're being entertained or you're finding it exciting. Sometimes it's better, when you're sitting there like this, watching it, you're behind your hands behind your hands and that. And we're just not getting that at the minute. So Livingston is a perfect build-up for Tuesday, in my opinion.
No, I think it's a fair point looking at it that way, because you're right. If we're going to go out and play a team who obviously stodged it up against them Wednesday, there might be a chance when they play on Tuesday, with being the home ground, they might be a bit open. But if they want to play the same games again and try and hit us on the counter on Tuesday, then a team like Livingston is probably a fair shout, Liam, because again, they are going to come to Glasgow, 10 men behind the ball, bit of physicality, time wasting, just anything to get something out of the game, no doubt about it. But yeah, the problem is again with Livingston, is because they're organised and watertight in the back. It's trying to get into those spaces to make chances. Now, I don't think this will happen because it's just we're talking about Brendan Rodgers, and he's very much set in his ways of how he's going to play. I think it'll be with the Adam Ida story that Ida's not going to play Liam. It's probably going to be Johnny Kenny, right? We think it's going to be him. I'd lean towards that one. But Brown Warrior saying, I think the pitch is ideal for Yamada to lead the line this season. He's got the pace to get on and get him behind over the back line and let him do the damage. Now, a team like Livy, say, get into those spaces to get him behind them and whatnot. Say, maybe I feel like Brendan Rodgers has kind of made his mind up already, as he does with a lot of players. He's came in over the last couple of years. I think already he's made it quite clear that Yamada is definitely not one for the now, and it's going to probably be Johnny Kenny. But again, with Livy, we need to win this game tomorrow. We cannot, after what happened on Wednesday night, have a bad result tomorrow. We have to find a way by hook or by crook. And it's like, well, you've got a guy there that's got a lot more pace, and you want to try and stretch their back line and, get him behind and whatnot, try and open up spaces. Because, again, if Yamada has got that to run these players around, he can maybe pull some of their defenders out of position, and maybe Maeda and Forrest can get in behind. So I expect they'll probably start on the wings. Even on Maeda, there was a report that he'd had a knock, but Brendan said in his presser that he should be okay. So that's good. That's at least a positive, I suppose. But with the forward line tomorrow, do you reckon it probably is going to be Johnny Kenny? But would you? I mean, out of the two, I don't really know what is the best option, to be honest, Liam, because none of our strikers look like scoring right now. But where would you be with that one?
Well, he's not really. He didn't do anything wrong in the pre-season, and then as we got closer to the league starting, he started getting less and less time. And I thought he looked okay when we first see him coming in. I thought he bulked up, he looked all right. But, Johnny said something earlier, and far too rational and clever for this podcast. But, this is a really good test for us to go in it. Like, we couldn't get a better team to go and play this mob in Kazakhstan. And you're right, I think they are there. They will play exactly what they do. And that means, okay, well, it's a rehearsal for us. And that means, like, we do that first. Like, I want to see the team that comes out. Don't care what the position or the shape or who's playing, but I want to see is that we're going for the jugular in the first 5 minutes, that we're looking to completely overrun them and shock and awe them. And if that doesn't work, then reset it after 25 minutes. And if that doesn't work, keep doing it again, do it again at the second half, and then do it again once you make all your changes. But every time in, you want to see that you're hitting with flow where you are completely dominating and over top of them. And that doesn't mean controlling the game, because that's the thing. It just leads to this horseshoe of death that Roger seems to embrace, and that's controlling the game. And the more you control the game, that's great. But they're all sitting back and you're controlling the game. So I'm seeing Scales get 10 more touches in the ball than what I need to see. I'm seeing CCV stop and turn it around and pass it to the goalie. And all of them are getting applause for our manager because we're controlling the game. That's not what fans want to see. That's not the Celtic football we grew up watching, controlling the game. No, we're there to disrupt. And this team needs to start embracing chaos. And the chaos in the box is going to come from guys like Maeda and stuff like that. Because right now, we're too passive. And we need something in the box that can cause a spark and an energy. That means shots at goal. It means just running, moving into space. We were just so predictable the other night that you can't do anything but saying, listen, start Maeda, especially if he's the one that's going to be starting on Tuesday night. Let's give our main striker a wee bit of practice. Supposedly he was pissed when he came off, when he was moved back to the wing. I don't know. I think our fearless manager's got a lot to answer to. I don't think it's very good.
The issue with that is, I mean, I agree. Right now, on current form, I know Maeda's obviously been a bit underwhelming from the tail end of last season, but right now, looking at what's available, Maeda is the best one. But the problem is the wingers are so bereft right now of options, and it's like, but again, that's just bad management from the hierarchy that have caused that. That's put us in that position where he can't put him there because Forrest, 34-year-old James Forrest, has been relied on to play every game at the moment. Yang, he had a few flashes on Wednesday night, but again, we've kind of realised he's not good enough. And I see that Marco Tillio's finally been allowed to leave this window, so I guess that means that something must be happening, because we're told he can't leave until we're getting more wingers in. So the fact that he's off ski now tells me something's happening there. But yeah, right now, what's available is Maeda, Forrest and Yang are the only available wingers. So if he moves Maeda in the middle, and then it's Yang and Forrest will need to play, and then at some point he's going to make subs. So if he's going to swap a winger, Maeda's going to have to go back out wide again. So again, this problem's been caused by
Phil, we watched Mikel Arteta push Kieran Tierney to the wing. Where's that sort of imagination? You know, we've got Luke McCown that we know can play in the wing. You can play Angles on the wing. I bet you Tony Ralston could put in a half decent shift on the wing.
Just said it. Nygren, of course, I keep forgetting because Brendan Rodgers is playing him in the middle. I keep forgetting that Nygren can play there, so that's an option.
Well, that's it. So you still got a team full of football players. So don't tell us your hands are tied and you don't know what to do because you're looking for the one under the platform that says wingers, where you've got other players in your team until we can get some fresh bodies in there. But at that point, just don't gear up the game on behalf of us because you're not getting the exact players that you want. You still have to do the very best with what you have. Fans are showing up. They're still getting at everything. Still buying all the clobber, still buying everything. Right? Buying into all the bullshit. You know, Gucci belt, all that lot, big crocodile smile. We get it. You're one of us, so you are. It's like, no, I want to see more imagination for him. It's just plain crisps, isn't he? So plain crisp. I need a winger. Then find a winger. You're watching these guys at training every week. Surely one of them had the attributes of a winger that can run, play a position, cross the ball, cut inside, have a shot in net. It's not that hard.
Well,
there's two comments that have just been put up there, but that one that's on the screen now, Kieran Tierney probably is the best crossover ball in the league.
They've been great.
But also, I'm not one for watching YouTube clips until we've signed a player. After we signed Nygren, I was watching some of his clips, and some of the clips I was watching, he was very much Nicholas Kuhn at his best with us last year, coming in off the right, cutting in, and scoring some really nice Kuhn-like goals with the left foot across into the far corner. So Nygren out in the wing, on the right, Forrest on the left, which will let you bring in Engels back. Two by all accounts had a half-decent game. It was against Falkirk last week.
Yes, Falkirk. He was actually really good. He was very good against Falkirk.
Or start bringing the forgotten man from Portugal. Not the injured man from Portugal, but the forgotten man, Bernardo.
Bernardo,
Bring him back in. Because I'm not really sure what's going on with him at all. Is he getting on the bench even at the minute?
He's played a grand total of, I think, 15 minutes of football so far. He came off the bench again, I think, and that's it. That's all we've seen of Bernardo so far.
Yeah, so that's given. So it's like you're saying there, Liam. It's some players might be slightly out of position, but they're good enough to do it. It's not like we're asking them to be completely alien and learn something brand new.
Martin O'Neill used to push Chris Sutton to centre half.
I think Martin O'Neill played. I think Chris Sutton played nearly every position for us, bar goals.
Dion Dublin, remember he came up and he played centre back in a few games as well. Under Gordon Strachan now.
We had Greg Taylor in the midfield last year. So come on, Rodgers. I mean, that can't be the extent of your creativity. I mean, that was the absurd level of it. But however. Yeah, I think he's got players, and until this recruitment gets resolved, you still have to do something. Just don't keep doing the same things. Show us you're trying to fix it, but you're not just in a wee huff. You know,
well,
it looks like he's in a wee huff.
Steve-O has put a comment in, and he's bang on. It was what I was going to say was newsflash, Brendan. If you don't have wingers, don't play any. What a novel concept.
Another one.
Back to midfield, one up on the secondary, just behind him is a 10. It's like, we're in a day and age when football doesn't need to be so regimented. You can have other formations. You can move players around depending on the hand you've currently got. Instead of being like, oh, I can't play my usual. I can't put my Maeda through the middle. I don't have enough wingers. And it's like, well, find a formation where you can play. Don't need to play wings. You can rely on the fullbacks getting forward for your width. You can have wide midfields. Have 3 centre backs, 5 across the midfield. There's things you can do 2 up front. I remember when Neil Lennon, of all people, Neil Lennon is the only manager in the last 15 years at Celtic who broke away from a formation he was playing You know, Ange Postecoglou liked to play 4-3-3, and he stuck to that in every game. Brendan Rodgers in his first spell was that 4-2-3-1 with the two sitting midfielders. This time since he came back, it's been 4-3-3 all the way. It's been that. And it's like, but I remember Neil Lennon, we had the cup final against Rangers where they battered us. They played us off the park, and Chris Julian scored the winner, and we got away with it with the skin of our teeth, but Fraser Forster had to save everything. But that was a warning shot that, oh, by the way, they're catching officers. And of course, we then played them in the New Year game a few weeks later, and they beat us. And then it was like we went away for the winter break, and when we came back, Neil Lennon decided to change up the formation. We started playing like 3-5-2. Lee Griffiths and Edward up front, and they were fantastic. That 3-month spell from January to March was unreal. Like the goals we were scoring, the football was fantastic after a quite turgid first half of the season domestically. I mean, in Europe we did really well that season because again, Neil Lennon would be pragmatic in Europe. He would change the formation for that. That's why we beat Lazio home and away. You know, he was cautious in that. But yeah, he changed it up and had two up front, which how often do we scream out for that? And it was great. And then, of course, COVID happened and everything got shut down and it brought it to an abrupt end. But he's the only manager in, you know, the last, say, 15 years who, and Ronnie Dyler had that one formation as well, 4-2-3-1 again. So it's like Lennon's been the only one. And it's like, Brendan, you haven't got the players available for the formation you want to play. Surely you take what you've got and you get something that works. You get something that works from that. But it's just, again, and he's not the only manager. This is a world football thing. You see a lot of managers who are like that, where they've just got very much a way that they want to play and they don't want to deviate from it. But I think in this current situation, Johnny, needs must. You know, it's like, well, you don't have the necessary tools to play that way, but you've still got a decent crop of players there. You just need to shift things around a little bit. And to me, that's a tap in, really. That's it goes without saying, Johnny. It's just like, well, shift it around. You know, make it work for the game that you're playing tomorrow, and hopefully by the end of this coming week, the players that he wants have actually arrived. It shouldn't be in this position anyway. It shouldn't be a case of we're waiting to this point. But yeah, I do think, Johnny, it's so simple. A formation change of some kind, a tactical change. Is it that much to ask?
Not in the slightest. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, football's an easy. It's a simple game, and it's not designed well. I'm not going to sit here. I'm a what's that?
Is Phil the border on the phone? How much are you looking for? I've committed to this. I'm not going to join that board. But
it's a simple game. Don't complicate it. I mean, things like low blocks and high blocks and presses, and I know you get a press and a high presses, you're just putting pressure on the opposition, which is what you're meant to do anyway. What we've been doing since we first kicked the ball in 1888. But you know, it's catch people out with a change of formation, you know, which is what Lenny done. What you were just talking about, you know, came up with something that nobody was expecting him to do. I'm not going to say he was a tactical genius. Let's put two men up front. Let's go for it. Two guys who know where the back of the net is. And we knew they knew where the back of the net was. You're saying there, Liam, you know, play your best players. If I've got two guys that are capable of scoring a barrel of goals, why should I limit my options by only playing one of them? I mean, I was brought up watching teams play. Every team played two men up front. Some like two big guys up front. Some like the big guy and the little guy working together. I didn't really give a toss as long as they could both put the ball in the back of the net. But change things up. Do something different. You don't have to play to the norm. I mean, you talk about the horseshoe, Liam. Well, that's what the Rangers supporters used to say about Van Bronckhorst football as well. You know, the horseshoe. Right. I'm not interested in whether we've had 75% possession in a game of football. I've never won a game of football because I had more possession than the other team. If it still stayed 0-0, we didn't get an extra point because we had most possession. You know, statistics and damn lies. You know, we beat Barcelona with something like, well, depends who you listen to. Some people say 6% possession. Some people say 10 or 11%. Whatever it was, it didn't matter. We had 2 goals. They had 1. We won the fucking match.
That's it. And who was the manager on that night? Neil Lennon.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Neil Lennon is the answer, by the way. I'm just pointing out
No,
that a basic
no.
level manager like Neil Lennon could suss that I can't just go in and treat this like I'm playing Hamilton Accies. I'm playing Barcelona here. I need to stodge it up. I think we played 5 across the middle that night, if I remember right. You know, he took what was available because we had an injury crisis as well for that game. I'm pretty sure like Charlie Mulgrew played at like left midfield or something like that.
Adam Matthews played on the opposite side that night.
Played at left back that night.
That's right.
So there you go, a manager who had injury problems. He didn't have all the tools for the strongest team, and he moved it around, and he got one of the best results in recent Celtic history. But I say, I'm not advocating that Neil Lennon is the answer, everybody, before somebody takes it out of context. No, that's definitely not the answer. Definitely not.
It's proving the point that when you change things up and you do something that the other manager doesn't expect you to do, you've got a chance of causing a problem. Because then they've got to try and figure out how they're going to now change their game to counteract what you've done to counteract their game. It's not rocket science. Simple game. Definitely
not. Well, anyway, we will finish up in a couple of minutes. So before we go, we'll just need to do our predictions in for the Livy game and how we think it's going to go. So, Johnny, how do you think we'll get on against Livy tomorrow?
We're going to win.
Okay.
I've just got to try and decide now whether it's going to be the stodgy pop and puff and a last-minute winner, as we did against St Mirren in the first game of the season. But I'm going to go 2-0.
2-0. Okay.
2-0. Yeah.
Take it, saying the day a win is a win at this stage, and we just need to get over the line till these players all arrive at the end of the week, apparently.
Yeah. I just want the win on Saturday to put Rangers, a bit more pressure on Rangers early on in the season, because they've got a tough game on Sunday. They
do. See, that's another whole caper as well. They could backfire on them after them cancelling the game and then getting it back on again after they realised that they've made a bit of a CUNT of the start of the season. And Liam, how do you feel tomorrow will go?
Conflicted, man. I think there's two sides to this, Jekyll and Hyde. If we're Dr. Jekyll and we've learned nothing from what we did through the week, and Rodgers tries and plays the exact same team, the exact same way, but with either Johnny Kenny or your Mada up front and Scales carrying the ball and then the horseshoe and all that, I think we'll struggle against this team. I think we're starting to. You have to look at the mindset as well. They just don't seem to be able to capture that momentum that they've had before. And so if he comes and he changes that team, like what we seen when we did that refresh before we played Aberdeen in the Cup, where we brought out young players that weren't maybe as complacent when we tried to introduce new players into different positions and then had them believe that we're performing for maybe a spot in the final, then we actually might do well and we'll come out and we'll take this team apart. But if we go into this, control the game, they'll let us control the game. They'll let us control the game because that suits them. That means all the ball will be passing the back and they just have to keep close to James Forrest, keep close to Maeda on that other side because nobody's coming through the middle, especially that team. They're just gigantic, So
and I believe they've got a win and a draw in the first 2 games. They drew with Kelly and they beat Falkirk. So they're on 4 points. So they've made a decent start to the season. So they're not to be taken too lightly.
No, I mean...
The best way to control a game is to score more goals than the opposition.
That's it.
It's like
that's how you control a game.
It's like, you watch UFC and there's these guys that are just trying to control the fight. You want to see the knockout. You want to see it going because controlling just doesn't get you anywhere. Nobody goes to football to watch you control a game. They want to see sparks of individuality. They want to see teams and formations and patterns forming that say, oh, I've obviously trained on that. Or that's something that's a tactic that you've worked in the training ground. And you want to see moments of just like individual expressionism and people putting their own stamp on the game. You want to see hard tackling. You want to see great saves, controlling the game, just rolling the ball, passing to the other to sort of like add to these non-existent statistics that, the data-driven nerds absolutely love. Well, we've got a boardroom full of nerds right now, and It's honestly, the entire world, it's all the nerds that are going to kill us. That's who you have to look at it for. And we've got a boardroom full of them.
That's probably the kindest word that somebody's called them this week. That's probably the most tame word you could have said. So, with all that said, Liam, 5-0 to Celtic tomorrow, yes?
Greg Taylor hat-trick.
Oh my god. And I am inclined to agree with Johnny. I think it's going to be a bit of a stodgy one. I think it's a bit like the St Mirren game at the start. See, I don't want it to be that way. I want us to go out tomorrow. You know, we just want to get it out of our system what happened on Wednesday and get a good bit of preparation for Tuesday. A wee early goal would be fantastic, but I have a funny feeling it's going to be, we're going to have to wait, and it'll be a win at the end of the day, but we're going to have to grind it out and break them down because, yeah, I'm worried about our forwards right now. Our forwards just look like they're bereft of confidence and bereft of ideas. And yeah, that's sadly the way we are. So hopefully, though, as long as we've got the 3 points, end of the day, we need to just navigate. So put it this way, see if Celtic win the next 3 games that they play with like a stodgy 1-0, all 3 of them. That'd be amazing because we would have beat Livy, we would have got through in the Champions League, and we would have beat Rangers next week at Ibrox. So it's like, well, I'll take 3 stodgy 1-0 wins in a row, to be honest. We don't play particularly well. But yeah, I've got a funny feeling this might be just like the St Mirren game on the first day of the season. It's going to take us a while to figure this team out, but we'll get there. A massive deflected goal or whatnot, but either way, if it hits the back of the net, that's all I care about. And yeah, with that said and done, we shall head off now. That's an hour and 11 minutes. Thanks everybody for watching. Remember, hit the like button on the way out. Tomorrow, I think Liam will be back on with Terry for the bus home. So that'll obviously be on after the game. We'll get that set up at a time that suits because obviously Liam needs to get back from the supporters club. But again, you will know when it's on. If you hit the subscribe button and you hit the bell notification, you'll be notified. And yeah, Terry, hopefully you'll be able to navigate the buttons and whatnot. But yeah, I'm going to show Liam as well how to do that. And the two of you can, between the two of you, I'm sure you can figure it out. And yeah, it's a doddle, by the way. StreamYard is a doddle. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks, Johnny, for joining us as well tonight. And try your best, everyone, to enjoy the game tomorrow. Positive vibes. We've got out our system tonight. We're all feeling better. The therapy session is over. We've had a good vent tonight. And yeah, let's get out there tomorrow and give Livy a right good doing and 3 points on the board. Right, we'll catch you later, guys. See yous.
See you later. Cheers.